In today's show, the Blazers wrap up a promising road trip with a pretty disheartening loss in Dallas. Let's talk about the disheartening stuff, and we'll get a little positive too. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're going to talk about a somewhat disheartening end to what I thought was a positive road trip for the Portland Trailblazers. They go 2-3. I thought they played 5 pretty good games, but it ended with 4 pretty brutal minutes against the Dallas Mavericks that saw the Blazers drop a 10-point lead and lose a game on the road to a team missing their best players. And it didn't feel good. And it felt like the officiating was involved in a game more than you want it to be. And the Blazers did some dumb stuff. It just wasn't. They played 4 really good games on the road trip and 44 darn good minutes against the maybe even 44.5 darn good minutes against the Mavs, and then it all kind of crumbled on down. We'll talk about that game, do our fastest recap in the West. Donovan Clingan came back and played very well in this game after a night off. Scoot Henderson was pretty darn good in this game. We'll talk about the 2 youngsters. And then I want to talk sort of just where the Blazers are, because I do think they've had some success. This was a good road trip. This was promising, and they're taking steps that you want to see, albeit with some quibbles along the way. It ain't all hunky-dory. It's not that kind of show. Let's do the fastest recap in the West. Blazers up 28-20 after 1. It was a slog to begin this one, and the Blazers kind of finally found a rhythm and got built themselves a little bit of a lead, led by as many as 10 in that second quarter and led 58-53 at the break. Shaedon Sharpe has 12. Scoot Henderson has 10. The Mavericks are playing without Luka Doncic. They're playing without Kyrie Irving. They've last time these two teams met, it was no Luka, but it was also no PJ Washington, no Najee Marshall, and no Derek Lively in this game. So the Mavs role players who didn't play in the last game, particularly Washington and Lively, who are really freaking good, and Marshall, who is a solid bench contributor, they're back, but then no Kyrie Irving, who had 48 the last time these two teams played. So, you're playing a Mavs team built around 2 stars with role players that look excellent playing around their 2 stars. And the question is, how excellent are they going to look when they're not playing around their stars? Blazers still without Jeremy Grant in this game, who is closing in on 2 weeks with a face contusion, and rolling along with a group that has been pretty good. Denny Avdia and Toumani Camara at your forwards, and a group that's been pretty good. And then back in action, we get Donovan Clingan. Robert Williams did not dress with rest, second night of a back-to-back. You assume that he was not going to play both nights of a back-to-back, so now it makes sense that Clingan was specifically a rest. They said 0 minutes for Clingan because we know we're going to have 0 minutes for Rob, and it's like you don't want to just, if you're actually going to sit out, sit out. But you're up 5 at the break against a shorthanded Mavs team when, you kind of feel okay about it. Blazers hit 10 threes in the first half, and then they led by as many as 12 in the third quarter and go into the fourth up 89-81. Every time in the opening 3 quarters, Blazers did not ever give up the lead in the third. Every time the Mavs had a run, every time the Mavs threatened and cut it to 2, Billups would take a timeout, the Blazers would settle, and they would push the lead back. And that happened a couple times in the second half of the third quarter. Specifically, it was like the Mavs responded, and the Blazers were right there. And that continued to be the trend. The Mavs would respond. PJ Washington would hit a big shot inside. Derek Lively would get a bucket, and the Blazers would find a way to score. Scoot Henderson was scoring. Shaedon Sharpe had some early offense. Anthony Simons, Donovan Clingan was doing his thing finished with 11 points, which is a pretty big offensive night for DC. They responded every single time the Mavs had a run for the first 44.5 minutes of this game. Shaden Sharp hits a tough isolation 3 on the left wing. He gets a switch. It wasn't really ISO. He gets a switch and he draws out the switch. It's different than a straight up isolation. I know people sometimes call any time when you go one-on-one isolation. It's not really the same thing. But he gets a switch. Derek Lively out in space and he says, "Come here." Cross, 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 3. Shaden Sharp's not a great 3-point shooter off the dribble, and that looked smooth. Easy money, just like stroke of threes from deep. Then Shaden Sharp comes away with the steal. They get out and push. Toumani Camara hits a 3 in transition from the right wing. The Blazers are up 10 with 4 minutes and 33 seconds left, and the Mavs take a timeout because they're going to lose this game. Double-digit lead, 4 minutes left. Obviously, that's... like some of the shots are worth 3 points. This is far from over, but like you're in a position to win on the road, close out a road trip 3-2, and you're doing it on the strength of Scoot Henderson, who has played well but is out of the game at this point. Shaden Sharp, some tough defense, and some nice play from your young rookie center. The following 3 possessions, I think, really cost the Blazers this game. They go without a center. DeAndre Ayton was bad in this game and didn't play down the stretch. So they go with basically Donovan Clingan, but they pull Donovan Clingan. They go with Chris Murray and Toumani Camara and Deni Avdija along the front line. I think it's too many guys that teams don't respect as shooters to really go small. And so then what you end up is a lot of isolation. Going small can bait your own team into going into isolation because you don't have a natural screener that's going to set a big screen and kind of immediately open up the ball handler to get into the lane. The Blazers don't have a ton of they run this offense is supposed to be like drive and kicky, but the best 2 drive and kick guys are Deni and Scoot. Shaden Sharp is developing there. Anthony Simons is not. That's just not his game. If he drives, he's shooting. He's a good playmaker, but it's usually off of attention on the perimeter as opposed to he had a great pass to Delano when he got attention on the perimeter tonight. But like it's not the drive and spray. That is not at all Anthony Simons' game. And when you go small, the Mavs keep Derek Lively in. They're gonna switch and they're comfortable. They said, we'll just leave Derek out there, and if you beat him, you beat him, right? Like they're just not afraid of that lineup at all. And Anthony Simons on the first play out of the timeout, first offensive possession out of the timeout after the Mavs score, gets Derek Lively on a switch, beats him to the rim, and Lively chases him down and gets a piece of his layup. Ant gets all the way to the rack. You want him to drive. That's good stuff. But you're trying to score in one-on-one in one-on-one settings. The next trip down the floor, same thing. They get the switch. They target the center. They get Derek Lively in space, and PJ Washington helps way the hell off of Deni Avdija. He's not afraid of that one pass away kick. And Shaden Sharp dribble, looks like he's going to drive, sees the help coming, takes a tough step back 3 and misses it. That's a really tough shot. That is a really tough shot. Then the following possession, Anthony Simons comes up. It's like, now, okay, the Mavs are coming back. This 10-point lead is dwindling. The Mavs are coming back, and Anthony Simons, as he's coming across half court, kind of does a little hang dribble, looking like, okay, we're going to call a play. He's trying to direct traffic, and his eyes are further away. His eyes, are whatever, 35 feet towards the rim, trying to direct traffic with his teammates, and Quentin Grimes gets a hand on the ball and knocks it off of Anthony Simons out of bounds. That is missed layup, you get blocked at the rim, a really bad Shaden Sharp decision to take a very challenging 3-pointer, and Anthony Simons just getting straight up ripped at midcourt. Blazers foul. During this stretch, the Mavs take 10 free throws in the final 4 minutes. They just won the game by getting to the free throw line. Most of these, in my opinion, were the Mavs pushing off misses and going, right? When Anthony Simons missed the layup, you miss layups, you give up transition points a lot, right? Because the floor is unbalanced. They give up a layup or gave up a shot at the rim and fouled. There was a weird Dinwiddie one where he kind of elbowed Toumani in the face, but Toumani maybe fouled him first, with his body, he kind of bodied him first, and maybe that's where the foul call, but then Dinwiddie went through Toumani after that and elbowed him in the face, and it's sometimes the NBA is weird, and a face getting hit in the face trumps everything else that happened. It's hard to know. On the replay, it did look like Toumani fouled him, but it also was very clear that he got hit in the face. No challenge or anything. So they after a free throw, they come out and they put Donovan Clingan back in the game. And they run like a real action. Tumani sets a pin down screen, and Shaedon Sharpe gets the ball on the curl and just misses a shot of the rim. He just missed a shot of the rim. Shaedon Sharpe's a really good finisher. They actually ran offense on that play. It was the three prior plays that were a mess. Sharpe misses a floater. Mavs go down and get free throws in transition. PJ Washington gets fouled. He makes free throws, and then this is the possession. So I didn't. Obviously, the turnover from Ant is a mess, but you come out of this, and now the game is tied. 2 minutes after, you're up 10 with 4:33 left. You get a missed layup, a missed step back three, a turnover, and a missed floater, or missed kind of like runner from Shaedon Sharpe. 2 Sharpe misses, an Ant miss, and an Ant turnover. The Mavs have tied the game. You are in like, you're feeling it, right? Like your lead is gone. Your offense is really struggling. And Anthony Simons took a three he didn't need to with 11 seconds on the clock. That he gets it left wing. That's his shot, right? That is a space that he's very comfortable from. He rejects a screen. He gets a clean look at a three, but it's a clean it is a clean look at three, no doubt about it. But it's an off the dribble three with 11 on the clock. He goes kind of early. That is a settle shot. He settled because he knew their offense had been getting. The Shaedon Sharpe on the previous possession got a really good look because they ran action, and he just missed it. And Ant settles there, and the Mavs come down, and PJ Washington hits a corner three, and they go up 112-109. And then the really weird part of the game happens. The Blazers are going to lose this game 117-111. That's your fastest recap in the West. I want to take a break here real quick because I went a little long talking about these final 4 minutes because it was 4 minutes to forget. The Mavs have now ripped off 13 straight points, and the Blazers are going to get a chance at the rim that had one of the strangest challenge outcomes you'll see. Let's talk about that on the other side. Join me in the second segment. Won't ya? First, I want to tell you that this show is brought to you by Intuit TurboTax that wants to know, are you tired of endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers, no more wondering if you're missing out on deductions, whether you've got one form or 20. TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. All right. Okay, so where we left off, the Blazers, they've let a 10-point lead evaporate. They're down 3. Clock's ticking under 2 minutes. Shaedon Sharpe attacks the rim. He gets fouled. On the first replay I watched, I am fairly certain that PJ Washington swats him across his forearm, right? Seems incredibly clear. In fact, as they're going to the monitor, I'm thinking to myself, what is Jason Kidd doing? Like, what is that? This is a close game, and you're burning one for no reason. Then they showed 2 other replays. One of the replays looks like PJ Washington gets it super duper clean block. The other one looks like mostly clean, but a little bit of hand. But if he gets the ball first and then falls through to the hand, sometimes the NBA is weird about that. Sometimes it's not a foul. Sometimes if the ball is jarred loose and it's just a natural continuation, they say, okay, you're good. But I'm thinking, based on the first replay and based on the third replay, they're probably not going to overturn it, right? There's not like evidence and conclusive evidence in my mind that it's clean. And then it's a successful challenge in the weirdest way that I can imagine. PJ Washington's block is deemed clean. And again, there was one of the replays they showed, and I was watching the Blazers broadcast, so if you were watching the Mavs broadcast, maybe they had different ones. The one of the replays they showed, it did look like a clean block. And I was like, oh, that's why he challenged it, because I didn't see that the first time. And sometimes you can the first angle you look at can really get stuck in your head. And I think that's a little bit what happened here with me. But what they called was that the block was clean, it was loose, And then Derek Lively, who also came over to challenge Shaedon Sharp's shot at the rim, jumped from A to B into Shaedon Sharp. And since the ball was loose after the block, it was not a shooting foul, but a loose ball foul side out. So instead of shooting 2 free throws that would have a chance to cut the lead to 1, the Blazers have to, they've lost some shot clock time, and now they just get a side out and they have to run something. That was just bizarre. I don't know that they got it wrong. I don't know they got it wrong. That might be 100% correct. There was nothing about. I did not anticipate that in any way. So it was a very surprising result to me. And I don't recall a review like that where they say that that shooting motion is finished and he was fouled after the shooting motion and now it's a loose ball foul. It was very strange to me. Very strange. Incredibly weird. I don't even think it was wrong. Just incredibly weird results. So the Blazers, but they do get a timeout. They do run a pretty nice play out of a timeout. Shaedon Sharp missed Donovan Clingan on the pin down. They run a handoff to him. Not a pin down, handoff. They swing to the opposite side. They inbound opposite the bench. They swing to the opposite side closest to the bench. Donovan Clingan runs from Shaedon Sharp, comes up from the corner and takes a dribble handoff from Donovan Clingan, and Clingan opens up and rolls to the rim, and he's wide open. Now, throwing the ball to Donovan Clingan on the roll is maybe not a guaranteed bucket, but he's wide open. And Sharp missed him. It looked kind of like his dribble was just mistimed and that he didn't have it in his hand in the window that Clingan was open. And then by the time the ball got up to his hand, it's a much harder pass. You got to be quick, right? That's a hard read to make. But Sharp didn't get him the ball. He's open. The play design gave Clingan a chance. I'm sure it wasn't a play designed to get to Clingan. It's a play designed to run a dribble handoff, and Shaedon Sharp gets to make a decision, and he didn't make the decision to make that pass. So he gives the ball to Anfernee Simons, and Anfernee Simons has basically a grenade in the late clock, and he has to take a tough 3. That's a bad 3 to shoot, and Anfernee Simons missed it, but that was not on Simons. That is a brick by Simons, but the fact that it fell to him was just, it was like, Shaedon got the ball, didn't make the read, didn't have a shot, said, "Here, you take it." And it's like, he got a "here, you take it" bucket. Ant misses. The Blazers or the Mavs turn the ball over and the Blazers get it back. And this is really when the game gets out of control. Toumani Camara drives in transition off a turnover and he gets fouled by Derek Lively and they don't call it. And I don't think Lively fouled him up high. I think he fouled him down low. I think Lively's legs hit Toumani Camara's legs as Camara was shooting, and he got fouled. I think it was a foul. I think it was a pretty obvious foul, and they didn't miss it. And then to exacerbate that, down 3, the Mavs go the other way, and after a missed shot, they get an offensive rebound, and Quentin Grimes goes up and makes a really tough shot, and they call an and one. And the and one looks like a weak foul call. Grimes hits a shot, they're going to go up 5 anyways, but it looks like a weak foul call. They go up 6, 16-0 run from down 10 to up 6. Mavs are going to win with 30 seconds left. Oh man, that was just that's brutal. And the Mavs shot 10 free throws in the final 4 minutes. The Blazers and Mavs had the same number of free throws at the 4-minute mark. The Mavs finished with 10 more free throws. They won the game with the free throw line. I don't think all the calls were wrong. Like I said, I think there was a weird Toumani foul that I think was probably the right call, but it's a weird call. Shaedon Sharp was called for a block, and the whistle was just tremendously late. It might have been the right call. On replay, it looked darn close, but it was tremendously late. And to call that foul so late in this type of game just feels awful. The challenge was bizarre, just a bizarre assessment of the rules, and Toumani got fouled. He should have taken 2 free throws down 3. He got fouled. Under a minute. They did not call. That was, I never talk about the refs on the show. You might listen to the whole every game this season. You never hear me talk about the refs. Really weird reffing down the stretch of this one. But I guess if you're rooting for the Blazers to lose, congratulations, they did it. Here's the thing. This was a good road trip. I'm telling y'all. I think the final 4 minutes overshadowed what was a pretty good road trip. Let's talk about some of the positives. Let's start with Donovan Clingan here first. DC gets a game off. He's DNP rest the other night. He looked refreshed. The first shift that Donovan Clingan played was the best he has looked physically since returning from the knee injury. He looked just a little more spry. He looked a little more fluid. magically his hands were better. I feel like he's had bad hands recently. This was a good DC game. Donovan Clingan played 24 minutes to just 20 for DeAndre Ayton because Donovan Clingan was the Blazers' best center. Donovan Clingan played down the stretch for all of you asking for Chauncey Billups to play the young guys. He did because Donovan Clingan was the best player. That he earned the minutes and Chauncey gave it to him. Clingan finishes with 11 points, 11 boards to go with 2 blocks. He was 4-4 from the field. He hit a 3-pointer in the first half. 4 of his 7 rebounds. 4 of his 11 rebounds. He has 7 on the defensive end. 4 of his 11 rebounds were offensive. Like, he kept plays alive. One of his buckets was an offensive rebound, puts it back and one with the big roar, and it was a big bucket to keep the lead, preserve the lead when the Mavs were threatening. Clingan was good. Clingan was good and spry. There was some moments where the Mavs were able to stretch Clingan out. There's one Maxi Kleber play where he just said, I'm going to blow by this dude. He's too slow, and that was real. But I thought Clingan held his own in a perimeter-oriented team. I thought he did a good job of getting, finding his way back to the rim with his feet and then being big at the rim. He had a great contest on Spencer Dinwiddie late in the game. Like, Clingan was good, and it had been a while since he's had a good game. He's had some kind of stinkers, and it feels like, oh, well, he's a rookie. But, like, you remember there was a point early in the season when he looked like it was like, he might not ever be much of an offensive player, but he has some real defensive juice. This was a game where the defensive juice was back, and he scored some points. Clingan has been bad enough on offense during his career to be like, shoot, 11? What if Donovan Clingan averaged 11? He would be really good. He was darn good. You know who else was darn good? Sterling Scoot Henderson, and he did it at the free throw line by being aggressive. And I feel like there was when the Blazers were small at the end of this game for a brief period that didn't work out very well, and it's just like 3 really bad possessions, to be clear. Scoot would have been a better choice in those 3 really bad possessions than what they went with. Let's talk about Scoot Henderson on the other side. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. It's the personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions and monitors your spending and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. I think what people really know about Rocket Money is the subscription tracker, and I've talked about it a lot here, but they also have budgeting goals. So you can say, here's how much I want to spend on groceries. Here's how much I want to spend on, eating out at restaurants over the next month. And Rocket Money will track your progress and send you updates. Hey, you're getting close. Make, budget this last week so you hit your goals. Or, hey, you met your goals. Congratulations, great work. So you can feel good and save money along the way. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Scoot Henderson was good in this game. Finished with 20 points to go along with 4 assists. 20 points on 7 field goal attempts. My man did it at the free throw line. 12 free throws for Sterling Scoot Henderson. 12 of 12 at the free throw line. Here's the thing about Scoot. This might be his path. I mentioned this way back, like at the end of his rookie year, kind of before he was having like consistently productive games towards the end of his rookie year. There were some games where it's like he got to the free throw line 5, 6, 7, 8 times when it's like maybe that's Scoot's path. And then it kind of went away, and that was not a thing that he did with consistency and has not been a thing he's done with consistency during his career. But I do think it is the thing that if he can do with consistency, is a real weapon for him. Here's the thing about Scoot. He's good at getting to the rim. Shots at the rim, just like his ability to generate shots at the rim, is pretty good. I think I'd say that's one of the strengths of his game. In fact, compared to other point guards, he gets to the rim very, very frequently. He's well above average, one of the better point guards in the league at generating shots at the rim. It's the making shots at the rim that has been a problem for our boy, but he gets there, right? Like, he he has the ability to get to that spot. It's just his efficiency once he gets there is a problem, and he doesn't have a great in-between game, so sometimes guys are kind of just baiting him, like, we know you're going to come all the way in here and you're not that tall, go ahead and do it. And so, like, there's more to grow to his game. But if it's like this might be the path. The burst and the ball handling ability to get himself into the paint and get to the rim, and then to get guys off balance, whether you just attack quickly and get a foul, or like he did a couple times where he likes to do that, what they used to call the Nash dribble, where you like go along the baseline and look for somebody. And a couple times Nash dribbles, cuts along the baseline, dribbles himself along the baseline, kind of keeps his dribble alive, and then circle back, pump fake, get somebody in the air, get fouled. Oh, show Derek Lively the ball, get fouled. Jump into Maxi Kleber, get fouled. This. I don't know if this is like easily replicated from Scoot. And 12 free throws is a lot, right? Like that's a special game. Probably an outlier game for him, right? But I do think the best version of Scoot looks something like this. He's a guy who gets to the free throw line frequently. He made his threes tonight too. He had early 3-pointers, hit 2 in the first half, 2 of 3 from 3. Only took 1 in the second half. But like he was good in early. He had a really nice third quarter, and then he just didn't play a ton in the fourth. Like, there was a moment where he went off and came back, when Simons went off briefly and came back. And actually the Blazers this is like, I think this is unrelated, but it's also factual. Semi-related, I'll say, but factual. The Blazers had that 10-point lead with Scoot on the court. Mavs took a timeout, and Simons comes back in the game, and the Blazers proceed to blow it. But I don't actually think Simons is necessarily the problem. They kept Chris Murray in the game there too. Defenses don't really guard Murray, and then when you also have Tumani Kamara, who defenses they're apt to help on it. And Tumani's been good lately, but he wasn't very good in this game. 4-14 from the floor. He did get fouled on one of those misses. Should have had free throws. But like, with Murray and Tumani and Denny, guys, it's just like their teams they're gonna pack the paint, and it was kind of just like trading bad Simons plays and bad Sharp plays there. Scoot can get to the rim. That is like, if you're going to go small and you're going to say, hey, they're going to play us in isolation, we need to attack and drive and kick. Literally, your best attack, drive, and kick guy is Scoot Henderson. Is he high level at it? No, but this is a comparative thing. He's the best at it on the team. Probably. He's certainly, Denny is probably the best at it, quite frankly. But Denny wasn't very good in this game. Like, I think there was probably like a 3-minute window when it would have been nice to have a little bit of extra shade or a little bit of extra Scoot Henderson, and they just didn't go that way. Again, I think there was only of the Simons was bad down the stretch, but I think only the turnover and the 3 at like that 2:10 mark, 2:15 mark, maybe took it like 2:12. I have a 2:10 in my notes, but that's definitely approximate. Like that one was bad, and the turnover was bad, but otherwise, like, some of that's just like a product of, they weren't, it always is a combination of things. It's players and coaching. I know we tend to want it to be one thing. That is a very human thing. You want it to be one thing, but it is both. It's both. But Scoot could have helped a little bit there. Would he have solved this problem? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they still kind of get reffed out of the game. I don't know if they got reffed out of the game. They got some tough calls that were to overcome, and they took some bad shots along the way. I want to say this, though, and I want to close on this. I think this was a good road trip. I know that the way this ended in Dallas maybe leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but the good thing about the NBA is they just keep playing. They're gonna travel, and they play again on Saturday, and against the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler. But like, the Blazers played the Lakers pretty close. They beat Milwaukee. They played Detroit pretty close in a game that came down to the final 10 seconds, but Shaedon Sharpe and Avery Simons tried to turn the ball over, and Avery Simons just really did it. They beat the snot out of New Orleans with their best first half of the season, probably their best 24-minute offensive, maybe both sides of the ball, best 24-minute performance of the season in New Orleans. And then they closed this game against the Mavs, where I thought, the Mavs are missing some of their dudes, right? Like, I'm not championing this as like hanging with the West champs or anything like that. That's championing the champs in one sentence. But like, they played well. the Blazers, they're graded on a curve, and the curve is like they're not very good, but they have absolutely been playing better. And this stretch on the road with against some tough competition, albeit some shorthanded teams along the way, this has been their best stretch. They are building towards their best stretch of basketball. I believe they are over the last 2 weeks playing the best basketball they have played all season long, and that's kind of what you want, right? You don't want them to get worse. I think you could quibble about kind of where they're at with lottery odds and what's the whole larger big picture stuff. But if you want to zoom in on the point of each an individual basketball game, which is to play well and win, Tumani has had his best offensive stretch, although he wasn't very good tonight. Denny is putting it together and has been probably the Blazers' best player for 6 weeks now, right? But is dependently pretty good. Shaedon Sharpe is playing the best basketball of his career and kind of figuring stuff out. Scoot's been a little clunkier, but I think he was good tonight. And there are moments when you can see that Scoot is kind of taking the strides that you want him to take. And and Donovan Clingan, after kind of not looking good, closed this trip on a good note. Both him and Scoot closed this trip on a good note. I think this is the best that they've played all year long. I think this was a good trip. This was a good road trip that you can feel good about the sort of direction. Maybe not this is the thing about it. It's if you get too close, you're so how do they get out of here? Where's their Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, right? You can get too close and you can get worried. And if you zoom out too far, you can be why aren't they one of the 3 worst teams in the league, right? But if you get to blimp height is where we're most safe. Blimp height is appreciating that some of the weird front office decisions are just quite frankly out of your control, and they've already made those. They've made those decisions, and that your best bet at blimp height is to say, well, it's a little bit weird and I don't get it, but, and you say, but they're playing better, and then you don't get so close as to say the only thing that matters is who could be part of a playoff rotation. Those things matter. We touch on the minutia. We get really close. We zoom out to 30,000 feet. But I'm saying if you want to just be comfortable about where they are, be a blimp. Get just far enough away that you can't make out the nitty gritty details, but not so far away that you're seeing the entire league and panicking about the Blazers' place in it. The blimp height, I'm telling you, at blimp height, this was a really good trip. This was a really good trip where you saw the young players that can be part of the Blazers' future continue to play better, and they had some productive games that led to wins. They had some productive games that they still ended up losing, and they played 44.5 good minutes against the Mavs, and then whistles and some bricks led them astray. That is going to do it for this week of shows. I'm trying to nail. I've struck out on an interview this week, multiple interviews if I'm being totally honest here. I'm hoping to get them next week. My goal on the show is to have an interview every week. I'm a human with a job. I am mostly trying to get people to join me on the program who are other humans with jobs. It doesn't always work out, but I'm doing my best. I apologize I didn't have one this week. I just couldn't thread the perfect needle, and I tried to, but I'm back. I got my thread, I got my needle, and we're gonna make it happen next week. Maybe we'll get a couple that have slipped through the cracks recently. Tell your friends about the program. Tell them they can get it wherever they get podcasts and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.